When we're estimating with benchmarks, this looks different for different problems. When you hear the word benchmark, what do you think of? When I say that, okay, it's not a test, okay, and I think that's what you guys think of, right? You take benchmarks in 3rd and 4th grade. We don't do a lot of that in 5th grade. So let me show you what these are. If you think about it on a number line, we can all count with quarters, right? Pretty easy. 25, 50, 75, $1. When we're estimating decimals with benchmarks, we're rounding it to the nearest quarter, okay? If you can think about it like money, this is a lot easier. Yes, sir?
When I think of benchmarks and numbers, I think of just easier numbers to work with.
Easier numbers to work with. When we use benchmarks and fractions, we'll round to 0, 1/2, or 1/2 and bump it up to the next level. So if you think about these, you're kind of looking at it like money, okay? If I have 3 and 1800ths plus 4 and 8900ths. 1800ths is between which two benchmarks here, guys? Zoe?
The 25.
And?
The 0.
Okay, it's going to be between the 0 and 25. Then at that point, I can figure out, okay, am I going to round it down to $3 or $3.25? Which one's it going to be closest to? 25 cents, because it's only 7 cents from being $3.25. So when you're doing benchmark questions, a lot of times you'll see all your answers end in 25, 50, and 75. Then when we look at 4 and 8900ths, it's going to be between which two benchmarks? Riley? Oh, yeah. Between what?
75 and $1.
But what's it going to be closest to?
$1.
So we're going to round that up to $5. And I get that for my answer. Do you see what this looks like? I will tell you there are some questions where it'll have a word problem and it will say to estimate using benchmarks, but those might only have 50 hundredths. Sometimes they will only use 50s and the nearest dollar. You just have to kind of look at the problem and look at what they've given you for your answer choices. If A, B, C, and D all end in zeros, you can probably round to what? The ones place, right? So you need to look at the answers to kind of figure out what they want you to round to. If I'm using these benchmarks, $4 and 6300ths, what would that round to? To the 50, right? So I could say 450. And then 213, what would I do on that one? $2, sure. So we're about to do a practice sheet together here in class. Everybody's going to do it because it mixes up what they're asking you to estimate to. Sometimes it's going to be to the ones. Sometimes it's going to be to the quarters, these benchmarks. And sometimes it's going to be to the halves and wholes. So you just have to kind of look at the problem. Does that make sense? Yeah.
It's like fill in the blank and it's not.
Okay, well, that's why I always check fill in the blank in here, because I would allow any reasonable estimate to be correct. Because an estimate is just your best guess. And if one kid rounds to the ones place and one kid rounds to the nearest quarter, is one of them wrong? No. No, it's just some of these word problems are wacky, and I'm going to show you guys how to figure them out. The other thing we're going to do after we do this worksheet is partner up for a game and practice adding and subtracting decimals. You guys showed me the other day. Most of you guys remember how to do this. I know you did this in 4th grade, and line paper is going to be your friend. Just to review, because some of you guys haven't done this in a while, when I'm adding decimals or subtracting decimals, the most important thing to remember is to line up the decimal. As long as your decimal is lined up, then all will be well. I can add some zeros here to fill in my empty spot. And then I'm just adding these together. When I place the decimal in my answer, it's just coming straight down. It's not moving to the left or the right. Some kids have gotten confused on these though. If I have 8 minus 2 and 1900ths, how do I set up this problem? What do I need to remember to do?
Add the placeholders.
Add the placeholder zeros and what else? Decimal, right. So you can't see the decimal here, but it's always here. And then I can add a couple of zeros. This is how to set these up. From what I've seen, the subtraction problems like this have been the ones that have thrown kids off, because some kids are trying to do this. This is really off. There's a big difference between $8 and 8 pennies, right? And if you set it up this way, you're saying that's 800ths. Do you understand? You can't just switch it around. You've got to set it up and add the placeholder zeros there before you get going.